Good afternoon, everyone, and apologies for the slightly delayed start for this session. With me are, a bunch of individuals who have been leading, the venture capital investment scene in Kerala, who are very actively engaging with the Kerala startup ecosystem, who are in many ways part of, the investment journeys and growth journeys of various startups that are bringing us a lot of laurels. Without further ado, let me just open up the session, and I will request each one of you to give a brief intro about yourself, the funds, maybe some of the investments that you have done, and we'll start with you, Anilji.
Good afternoon. I am Anil Joshi from Unicorn India Ventures. Now currently in third fund. I have a portfolio of around 50 companies. And a few of our investments are Open Bank, Intot, Sascan, Gen Robotic. It's a long list. I'll stop here.
Hello, everyone. I just had a speaker session. I spoke about AWE funds, but for the benefit of all, my name is Harshdeep Singh, and I'm leading investments in AWE funds, where we support tech-led innovations for commercial returns by promoting gender-equitable climate action. So invest in 4 sectors, climate tech, health tech, fintech, as well as future of work. Large amount of capital is to be deployed in the climate tech and the health tech space. We've made about 4 investments now from the portfolio, and one is Uravu, where air is getting converted into water. We have an investment in KB Coals, where the company produces natural biocolors and the likes of it.
Hi, I'm Prem Barthasarathy, founder and managing partner of Pontaq. We are a UK headquartered fund operating in the UK-India corridor. We are more entrepreneurs, and we call ourselves entrepreneurs, but our product being venture capital, just like how startups have their own products. So we have supported about 125 companies across UK and India. And within India, we have made investments about 23 states of India, and out of that, and now Karthik is going to frown at me if I say this number, we have made 5 investments in Kerala and counting. Thank you.
Hi everyone, this is Manoj Agarwal from C Fund. We are almost like a Kerala-based fund, though we are headquartered in Bangalore. We are in our second fund. At present, I think 50% of our portfolio is from Kerala. We've been actively working in Kerala since 2017, and we have a few in the pipeline. We are a deep tech focused fund, and I'm looking forward to more such opportunities.
Just to set the context here, so within the fund of funds, so what we have is, Kerala Startup Mission, we get into these select bunch of funds who have a very active and robust engagement model with the ecosystem. And we join the fund as a limited partner, and thereby, unlocking opportunities for both the investors and for the startups in the state. So I'd like to begin with you, Anilji. So, having done so many deals in the state, what is it that, got you really excited, or that continues to excite you about the Kerala opportunity? And, how do you see this initiative, specifically the fund of funds, shaping up, as the ecosystem matures more and more?
So been associated with Kerala now for almost 15 years. I think my first visit was in Trivandrum 2009 fag end or early 2010. And after that, I had been visiting Kerala at least twice a year. Almost 5-6 years. And till 2017, we had made no investments. In fact, I had evaluated quite few opportunities was associated with Maker Village, and now it's Kerala Startup Mission. And I think during one of conversation between investors and Kerala Startup Mission, it was eminent that the missing link was access to investor, and that's how Fund of Funds started. And we were the, one of the early beneficiary and recipient of fund from Kerala government. I think we got 10 crore in first fund. But of course, since we had taken money, we had to invest, right? So that's how, made first investment in 2018, if I'm not wrong, and I think most of you know this one company, Gen Robotic, and that was our first investment. It was a very small check of 30 lakhs, and I was introduced to them when they just had a prototype made of plywood and cardboard dangling from rooftop, and they said we are building a robot which will go under a manhole and clean it. I said it's dangling from roof, and how you expect to go? And that's that's how journey started. And we landed up doing a check of 60 lakh in that, and with that they built first product. And the very first product was sold to, I think, water board here, water authority, and that worked beautifully. And that's how we started engaging more with startup. Thanks to Kerala Startup Mission, that they continuously kept us exposing to meaningful startup. I think that helped building the confidence. And I can proudly say that we have made around 15 investment in Kerala between Fund 1, 2 and 3, and not a single company have failed. By nature, we do have our share of failure rate in every fund, especially in early stage. Almost 30, 40, 50% companies fail. But the good part, not a single company in Kerala have failed, and the reason being that every company have some IP. Which drives the innovation and have a use case to solve. Gen Robotic, like in normal circumstances, one of the most unsexy business, but has been consistently profitable from day one. And they had been doubling their revenue every year. I think most of you know this, a Trivandrum-based company. So, after spending so much time, Karthik, what helped build the confidence is that every single company was focused on IP. Second, they were solving, some problem, and because they were solving a problem, they were takers, and people were willing to pay for, the product, and they always kept their eyes on, bottom line. Most of the companies are profitable. Of course, there are ups and downs. If company is building a product, you cannot expect them to be profitable because they burn, building products. So we do have companies which are still in process of developing. But what I like most about this ecosystem is their ability to come out with an IP-led product for problems. So it's been a very good stint for me. I have since our first check of 60 lakhs, as on date, from fund 1, 2, 3, we have invested more than 100 crore already in Kerala startup ecosystem.
Your perspective.
So we are a very new daughter fund for Kerala Fund of Funds, but given the experience that we've had with the Kerala Startup Commission, it's been a very strong relationship that we've developed over a period of time, starting 2019, where we started to take part in mentorship opportunities, in speaking opportunities, in engaging with startups, and it's been a very humbling experience. And I agree with Anil Ji that the startups here tend to have very solid IP, which makes them extremely distinctive. I think the transformative power of fund of funds is really the multiplier effect that it creates in catalyzing additional capital for the state of Kerala. I think that's something which works very nicely here. From what I can say is, that given the experience that we've had, Kerala and Kerala Startup Mission has been able to create such a vibrant startup ecosystem, and it aligns very nicely with our investment thesis of climate mitigation, adaptation, and resilience. And the whole idea of taking the money and giving it to someone else for them to deploy it in a meaningful manner is very synergistic and is very powerful in seeding the ecosystem. So totally appreciate the kind of work that they do, and I think it's extremely powerful.
And in your case, Prem, you have also aligned with some of the initiatives of the Industries Department, Mission 1000, things like that. So, I mean, what kind of synergies do you see, and how exciting is this tier 2 or within tier 2 the Kerala opportunity for you?
First of all, the exciting thing is you still are not an LP in our fund, so we'll have to figure that out. So put the things in perspective. I think much has been said already by my two friends here. I think what we are seeing is entrepreneurship is beginning to thrive in the state of Kerala. And what we are also believing in is the founders, and most importantly, their ability to be humble, and at the same time, being able to be adaptive to the growing demands of the external world and in terms of the feedback that we are providing. So that is something that we are beginning to find, not just in tier 1, but also in tier 2 and tier 3. But having said that, being humble, in my personal capacity, is a double-edged sword. And it is prone more in the south of India because being humble, we are actually not being very aggressive when a particular opportunity is thrown at us. And also in terms of being able to think global, and it happens. I mean, the amount of technologies that are, or companies that are coming out of Maker Village or other parts of incubators and accelerators in the state of Kerala, they are actually supposed to be global companies by now. And we have a very classic example. We invested in a company last year in December without naming names. And this company, we invested, it has already fetched us about 3x of our investment. But the interesting point is, we have now taken them to the entire MENA region. And in the MENA region, the opportunity estate for them is about $11 billion, just in the MENA region. And we've already identified a strategic investor, institutional investor for them who are willing to provide not just money, but also in terms of helping them with strategic alliances. But the last 3 to 6 months have actually been spent on not on the business plan, but helping the founders think differently. So my urge to all of you in startups, any startups in the room? Raise your hands. Okay, so start thinking global. It doesn't hurt. You may not go today, but you may want to go tomorrow, right? So start thinking global. So that important aspect combined with humble nature and loyal nature, and also in terms of trying to be constructively aggressive, I think you'll all go places. And I see that that is an inherent talent that we have, and that is a suppressed demand that we have, not just in tier 1, but also in tier 2 and tier 3. I think if that is unlocked, I think Kerala has a long way to go. And thanks to the organizations like KSM and others, I think they're doing a good job, but much more room to be covered, not because there's an opportunity, but I think there's more willingness to grab the market.
Yeah, and your take, Manojji.
So Karthik, we started engaging with Kerala in 2016-17. You know, when we had just applied for being a fund, we are not even a fund. And it was probably one of my second trips to Kerala. Before that, it was a holiday. But I've been exposed to, you know, the Kerala ecosystem indirectly being in Bangalore. You know, I've seen the Kerala entrepreneurs through the Kirana stores in Bangalore, the supermarkets, which are largely run by entrepreneurs from Kerala, and I have a good set of friends. But they generally had a very negative view of Kerala, the local ecosystem, right? You know, they said, you know, nothing will happen there, wahan kuch nahi hoga types. But then the experience post that, once I started engaging, has been very different. Both from our engagement with the government, the Kerala Startup Mission, and also, you know, our journey with the startup founders. You know, we've invested in, you know, founders like Afsal from BestDoc. A lot of founders here will know, who had a successful exit in 2016, Bangalore-based startup to Big Basket, and then came and set up a health tech startup in Kerala out of Cochin. And then from then on, we've invested from our Fund 1 in about 8 Kerala startups, and then about 4 in Fund 2. 2 of them are ongoing discussions. And we have seen that the founders have been, you know, very grounded compared to, I mean, you can't put them all in an equal footing, but compared to founders in other parts of the country, including Bangalore, you know, where they have this, egoistic approach, you know, we are from Bangalore or whatever, but here they've been very grounded, and they can manage with limited resources where the need be. And the cost requirement, the only thing which they need to do better is probably, like Prem mentioned, the exposure to the global ecosystem is very important. They do end up in the Middle East, that is like second home, but I think more than that is required. Not only global ecosystem, but the ecosystem within India. In fact, I encouraged, have been sharing this with KSAM that, to start with, let them be exposed to ecosystems like Bangalore, Hyderabad, Chennai, and which has happened over the last 2-3 years. We have seen, things moving in that direction. I think as our engagement has been fruitful, and, KSAM among the ecosystem enablers across the country certainly stands out. And this is not what, because they are an LP with us, I'm saying, but this is, I think, speaks for themselves, the way they organize events like this. They don't have an event management company to manage it. As you do better job than many other event management companies do. And then certainly the awards they've won at Startup India and things like that, that's my take, yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Manoj. And the next perspective that I wanted to sort of bring in was purely from an investor's lens, Anilji. So where is it that you see the synergies coming from? Is it from as Manoj was mentioning, the founders being grounded, reasonable valuation numbers? Or is it, like a proximity to, because these days, everybody has started talking about building for Bharat, because the tier 2, tier 3 and the hinterland is where the growth story is going to come from, right? So is it proximity to that market, which is, slightly away from the large urban centers? So that pulse, knowing the pulse of that market, is it that, or is it, or a combination of, being grounded, having reasonable valuation? So from an investor's lens, purely from a financial standpoint, where do you think the synergies are coming from?
I think it will be wrong to say that, everything is related to problem or grounded. I think there are founders who think, unreasonable solutions, right? Gen Robotic is a classic example. Though it was for cleaning manhole, but nobody have thought of, right? It's a very complex product. Engineers here would appreciate that. It's not easy to build a, something, that which goes and clean and that when, it's not, easy to see what is there. So I think what makes specially is to, and we just came from another round table where one of the point which was highlighted was that, this particular market is known for creating hardware-led and a lot of around semiconductor, right? So I think it's a mix of both. We also have, many founders, I said I have invested in 15 companies, but I think there are more than maybe 1,500 or maybe 15,000 startups in Kerala. So my sample cannot be right sample, and we are more tech focused, but there are, businesses, which has been flourishing. So I think it's a mix of both. What I would say that what has helped, and it has not happened, just overnight. As I told you, I had been coming to state for, almost now 15 years, and it took me almost 8+ years to write first check. That also very small. Right, so I think it has taken long, and it actually takes much longer to build that kind of ecosystem. And good part is that, thanks to state government and Kerala Startup Mission, which has been enabling creating clusters. I still remember, and many times people would ask me, why you are going? One of the event which was organized by Kerala Startup Mission was in school, right? And I said, what VC will do in a school? No, they said, no, there is a program where, CM wants the entrepreneurship to be inculcated at school level, right? So it's basically building from roots. I think most of the people here are first generation entrepreneur, coming out, solving some real problems. So we have Shubhas, probably one of the youngest, founder in our portfolio. And he has, also have given us exit, a very unique product he is building. But thing is that he is not stopped at what he is building, but he is trying to see that how they can leverage that technology for more scalable opportunity. I think that's what is important. I think if you are building product which is solving some problem, there will be always taker. But if you're working on blue ocean strategy, then it takes a lot of money, right? Not only you put money building the product, but you also need to educate people. Zepto didn't happen overnight. There was a company called Dunzo, right? I think people from Bangalore would know what I'm talking about, but Zepto, today is one of the, or Blinkit or maybe, right? So I think it's a very unique ecosystem. It's evolving, long way to go. I'm, still, waiting for many more success stories to come. We have our share of, success. Founders, still need to work a lot on other areas. I think that will make it more vibrant.
I think a lot of points were covered there. What I'd like to say is something which is different to how we see it as AWE funds. So we are uniquely positioned, and we have extremely strong ties between India and US. So we have a very strong India-US straddle. What we see value in is essentially the frugal innovation potential that Indian enterprises from Kerala can bring to the table while developing products and services for the world. Because once they're able to achieve that, you already have an IP so-called competitive advantage. We do see a lot of innovation happening, but that mapped with a frugal innovation potential would really play out very effectively in this ecosystem.
So you asked about valuation, Karthik. I think from our perspective, valuation is a function of the value proposition that startups deliver, not the other way around. So we take that value proposition very seriously. I'm going to give the answer to you in two buckets. So in terms of how we define a particular company's valuation, I mean, for us, valuation doesn't really matter because we invest in B2B and B2B2C businesses in hardware plus software, and pure play software. At the start of analysis of a particular company, if they are delivering value to a business, then there are only two aspects of the business, or three aspects of the business: the revenue, the cost, which difference of which is profit for the end client. So we determine whether this particular company's product is actually delivering value either to the top line or to the bottom line. That's number one. Number two is we define whether the gap or the bubble that they are actually kind of solving, how big is it? And is it sustainable even after 7 years? Because at the end of the day, it's a very interesting space, business that we are in. The day that we get married, we also finalize a divorce. That's the business that we are in, right? Because at the end of the day, we are custodians of somebody else's money. So we understand whether the bubble can sustain beyond 7 years of the trajectory. And the third thing is, now that they have a solution, whether in the entire value chain that they are delivering this solution to, is it solving a particular problem, or is it complementing the solution to an existing problem? Neither is right or wrong, but it is important to understand where the exit is going to be for us. So that's bucket number. So we look at the value proposition and then determine the valuation. So that's number one. Number two, Karthik, you asked about how do we look at these startup companies in Kerala, etc. So as I said, we look at investing in complementary capabilities across the value chain, right? So if you take mobility as an example, we invest in motors to retrofit kits to batteries through to charging stations. Now, when we do that, different pockets of India seem to have different capabilities. And in the context of Kerala, it happens to be in the electronics and semiconductor space and other hardware generator business. That is what is thriving at this point in time. So it makes a natural sense for us to focus on those particular companies which are actually focusing on complementary capabilities across the end-to-end value chain of our own portfolio companies. So that's how we define our own thesis, and that's how we deliver value to our portfolio companies, because then with complementary capabilities, one gets to piggyback on the other, and together they all grow.
So Karthik, I think a lot has been said, but one thing what we see in Kerala is that hardware, like Anil mentioned, has been a large play here. But then companies, some like Gen Robotics, are very innovative. They have very unique product, and plays in the blue ocean, but then there are many who develop products which are just on playing on the cost benefit. So sometimes that doesn't work, just the cost benefit part. So we have seen many medtech companies who are like single product companies. Now single product in medtech scaling is a big challenge. So that is where, a lot has to happen, where one has to work on how to put them together, like a number of these companies together, and probably have, so sales and marketing expansion becomes a challenge for them. A lot of them, play both in the, Bharat Plus category, I would say, not so much Bharat, Bharat Plus category, because, most of Kerala actually doesn't fall in the so-called Bharat category, because you don't have the real rural play here. And then what we have also seen is, if we talk about valuation, I think again we see variations there where the understanding probably can improve, right? Probably a lot more can happen there. So sometimes there's, somebody who has a few IPs thinks that, he has everything, he or she. So that sometimes, I think the understanding issue is there. So those things, probably there can be more learning, and we try to do it whenever we come across such situations and talk to them, explain, what Prem said also makes a lot of sense. So things like this are very important.
Right. So now I just like to take a step back and look at this initiative, that is Fund of Funds, as more as a strategic intervention. So see, these days we are seeing a lot of action from various states, incubators, them taking either SIDBI route or setting up their own venture funds, or trying to roll out their own Fund of Funds model. So do you think this is indeed the right model for the government to get involved, primarily as a strategic intervention to build this ecosystem and create that flywheel? Or, are there other models that we need to consider? We'll again start with you, Anil Ji.
No, so we'll start from... Sure.
Yeah, no problem.
I think it's not for us so much to judge, but we have been part of it. We've been beneficiaries both ways, and startups have been beneficiaries. One thing, a bureaucrat from Kerala mentioned to me in the beginning when we were part of the first Fund of Fund. He says, I'm giving you 1 rupee, but you are putting 2 rupee here. So you're still investing, and you are exposing your other LPs to this ecosystem. So it is not that I am doing a favor, but you are coming and investing in the startups here, which I thought made a lot of sense. And it has helped open up Kerala, and, clubbed with the events you do, bringing in other investors, people like us talking about it, I think it has benefited. And I think it's important for all the states, who need to do. I mean, Karnataka may be an exception, but then Karnataka has this program called Beyond Bengaluru. Yeah. Bangalore is fine, but what about Beyond Bangalore? So I think this has been useful, it has played its role, and probably will do so in the years to come. And I think it applies at the country level, the SIDBI Fund of Fund program, that did it at the country level, and now there are so many others. So this is something which is just not in India, it is global. There are programs like this in Europe. So I think interventions like this has helped and will continue to help, but then it is, again, for people on the other side to judge how it has worked.
Your take.
I'm going to answer this question slightly differently. Let's... That's exactly why. Let's assume for a minute that the Fund of Funds did not exist at all, right, in Kerala. So then what happens? As Anil did rightly say, it took him 9 years to invest. It would have taken 18 years or 20 years or, whatever, right? So I think the most important thing in any particular product, let's forget startups, let's forget anything for that matter. Anything important in life is knowing the unknown, the discovery. So the Fund of Funds, as a step one, is an instrument to allow or incentivize people, like the 3 gentlemen here and probably me, I don't know, to discover. Yeah, exactly. So to discover the talent and the products that are coming in the region, from the region. So that's number one. Number two, in my view, is that at the end of the day, we are in a global supply chain, a global demand supply equation, right? For example, if it is a software company coming out of Kerala, they may require, beyond a particular scale, they may require talent from outside Kerala. If it is a hardware and they're developing, let's say, for example, a semiconductor or a motherboard or whatsoever, they may require chips that are being built out of Bengaluru. But what has happened here is, by virtue of bringing people like the three gentlemen out here, they've amplified the ability for one company coming out of Kerala to associate with other potential companies who are part of the grander supply chain outside the region. So that is number two. And the third is, it is a continuous learning. There's always scope for improvement. There's always scope for learning. And Kerala, being a very modest state and continues to be building its startup ecosystem, there's a lot for them to learn. So in a sense, basically, just like what Manoj said earlier, and the three funds over here, what they're essentially doing is they're becoming ambassadors of the Kerala Startup Mission, to be able to educate the various startups and the founders to be learn from other entrepreneurs and other good practices that are coming from outside the region. So I strongly believe that a fund of funds is a catalyst. It amplifies growth, it amplifies capital, it also amplifies sustainable creation of jobs in the economy.
No, makes sense, Prem.
Yeah, and further to the catalyzation that is spoken about, since the time we got support from KSM, we've been talking and advocating about Kerala money to our companies within Kerala as well as outside Kerala. And what we are finding is that a couple of companies, portfolio companies, are already interested in changing their, in not changing, but rather extending their offices to this part of the country. So Uravu is a case where they do water from air, and the business case for them to come here is evident to the fact that if you're situated in the coastal areas, you can tap into the humidity levels and make efficient operations. So they're seriously contemplating a move and setting up plant in this part of the country. There's another portfolio company, Monitra, and they are into devices which are used to measure irregular heartbeats. Their number 2 market happens to be Kerala, and they largely serve the tier 2 and the tier 3 cities of Kerala because their main objective is to improve healthcare outcomes there. So the catalyst role is actually working out very nicely, not only in Kerala homegrown companies, but also companies which are situated outside of Kerala. I also feel that there is a tremendous amount of convening power that KSM is able to generate in terms of bringing in expats from outside of India into that LP universe, making them come home and invest in companies and deliver an impact. I think that also is something which is working out here.
मैं नहीं बोलूँगा, सब कुछ बोल चुके हैं. No, I think it's one of the smartest move. It's not new. There are many examples in developed country where I think almost all funds have been, seeded and funded by government. Canada is a classic example. Middle East, we have several examples. I would say you are a late starter, right? No, I think it's one of the smartest move. And as rightly told by Prem, it not only help making good brand ambassador, but it actually forces people to look at it, opportunities from different perspective. I will not say that there is a dearth of money, but sometimes, government are known to, drive certain things. Money is not an issue. We have several friends here. We know this, there, Anas is there. They've been writing check in personal capacity. Now they have their own fund. Robin is here, who has been, one of the greatest evangelists, in room. But what happens sometimes, you need bigger local ecosystem to drive the, this initiative, which was lacking. right now government probably identified, and then they said, why not? And I don't think, Kerala Startup Mission or Kerala government restricted this, outsider. I think it was open for all. Whoever came, I think you have, accepted them wholeheartedly. So it's a smart move. Not only it has benefited building ecosystem. If I have, like I have no hesitation saying till date, we have got a contribution of 25 crore from Kerala Startup Mission, and we have invested 100 crore. It's a multiple of 4. Had you had done it alone, you would have just given 25 crore to bunch of, startups, right? So the impact of it is multiplier. It's a taxpayer money, so there is a responsibility. It's not that it's a free money. We are also subject to a lot of scrutiny. We also need to follow certain compliances. So I think it's a very smart move. In fact, I can also say that you were the pioneer, and now many states are following it. Right? My fund itself is beneficiary of from 4 state government. Kerala is one of them. So it is really helping building the ecosystem. If you wouldn't have done it, it would have probably pushed, the thrust what you have now by a few years. So it's a good smart move, I think. Now I think this has also encouraged many local investors to look at this as an opportunity to invest, because money is not an issue, right?
I think that there has been a lot of clarification that has been given back and forth. So yeah, so we'll wind up, Avian. So we have been doing some initiatives both within India, outside of Kerala, as well as even outside the country. So Startup Infinity is one such initiative. Happy to brief you offline on that, because there is a roundtable that these gentlemen will have to get to. So yeah, thank you.